It's great to have you back on Global Morning, and this is time for our second discussion. We've been talking a lot of politics, and we're going to divert a bit to education. Now, education has for long been regarded as one of the most powerful tools for personal growth and, of course, national development. Yet, as technology evolves, industries transform, and the world of work changes rapidly. Many people are beginning to ask whether our approach to education in Nigeria is evolving at the same time. Now, for decades, we've seen success measured by our academic qualification and, of course, certificates. But then today, the trend is changing. However, where we've seen employers and innovators and industry experts and leaders are increasingly emphasizing that skills, adaptability, creativity, problem solving, and continuous learning are taking center stage even beyond the certificate. And of course, Nigeria is also preparing for a future, and the young population are taking center stage. And we have had questions raised about how the purpose of education, if it's really yielding the particular interest of the young people, and the relevance of our classroom teaching. Of course, the policies of our education are all being questioned, and that is going to be our conversation today. And joining us for this conversation is Mary Elisomi OKUNLOYE. She's an educator, a consultant, and also a psychologist. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
It is our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
I'd like for us to start with understanding education in today's world, because when we talk about education today, should we still define it from what we've been told, which is that we have to go to school and acquire certificates and degrees, or would you say education has evolved beyond that particular perception that we have of it?
All right, so thank you for having me once again. From onset, I would say that education has never been defined as the limits to a particular setting or space. It's just because at the time it looks like what fits in. So I would say that education is definitely something that can be taken on and then practiced. If it is not applicable, it is not education, and if it is applicable and it is not learned, it's not education. So for you to say someone is educated, there must be learning and there must be ability to apply whatever you've been taught or learned.
Very important. Mr. Ramsey, you have an input?
Yes, there is this saying about certificate and certificate.
Yeah, right.
We've had people pass through the four walls of schools, all right, beginning from the primary, secondary to the tertiary institution, depending on individual capacity. Of course, we've seen people who only went to primary school and are successful in their own way. We've seen people who stopped at secondary school and are successful in their own way, and even the tertiary institution. So now, how do we get relevant even with a certificate? Because I feel I'm asking this because we're an educational consultant. With the certificate, just getting the certificate is not enough. That's what I think. So what's your perception about being successful having a certificate?
Okay, so definitely, like you said, certificate is not enough, and what makes you suitable or employable or successful is definitely not the paper. You get the paper, and we have a lot of issues. We have a lot of people who have the papers and certificates in court, and they cannot even defend it. Because you have a particular learning or course, and then you can't apply it. And when you get to a place of application, you're blank. So it's definitely not a measure. Certificate is not a measure to success. It's not. What I will consider a measure to success is the skill, what you acquire in the journey. And that is why I often say that the primary level of education is the most important. That is what helps in communication. That is what helps in understanding that there is more ahead. And then that is why someone who is only primary school certified can be successful, because what it takes now is your skill and the ability to apply whatever you've learned. I would gladly employ a primary school certified person who is skilled at what I need than someone who has a tertiary degree or whatever. because what I need is delivery, and it is not just about the paper. And as a consultant, I sit on tables where we interview a lot of people, especially in the educational setting, and you see how we get disappointed because it's not just about
out of my hands at this point.
You get disappointed a lot, and you wonder what's going on. I have also a personal experience. I've been an educator, studied education. I've never had to apply using my certificate. My certificate is there, but no one would ask me. They would rather say, be in the classroom, let's see what you can deliver. Exactly. So at the end of the day, it's not about what I did or what is on my certificate. It is how much I'm able to impart the learners. My results, that's what has given me promotion and all of that. So the same thing here. So we should, I would say that we should look beyond. While it is good to acquire knowledge, gather them, but make sure that to all of that, now what is needed more is not just the paper. We need the application. How much have you gathered to be able to deliver? If it is not impactful, the certificate is useless.
I love for us to look at our education system in Nigeria, because we've had issues saying graduates are not employable in one instance, and we've had saying that curriculums are out of date. So would you say the education system in Nigeria now is preparing our graduates for the real world realities we see and the problems we're confronted with?
Okay, so in answering that question, I would first establish that no curriculum is bad. The method of delivery and the method of application alters it. No, because it takes more people. It's not just one, not two people sit to say, okay, this is the policy we're putting in place, or this is the curriculum we're putting in place. But what alters it is when it gets to the point of delivery, how do we deliver it? So in the setting now, when we say the educational setting of Nigeria, we see that we're waking up to the realization that now learning is beyond the four walls. Learning is beyond copying of notes, and then we're trying to apply skills. We see that even in the current ongoing WAEC exams, we see that some subjects, some skills were introduced, which is practical. Now it is not just the writing of notes, studying about animals and all of that. It is more of putting skills. So I would say that we're improving. While I will not say we're there yet, but at least there's a realization that there is more to education, and we're imputing that. And I would also say, for it to be more effective, we have to look towards the end of the delivery, those who deliver it. That is where it lies. It still comes from the skill. So if a skillful person is delivering, then you will know. So for instance, we have a subject like furniture. And then you want someone who can teach furniture, right? Practically. So you cannot totally look into someone who is a degree holder. That might be the boss, but the person who will teach the skill will be an apprentice or someone who is going through the learning process. So I think there's a realization, and I believe that we're working towards it, but the realization is the most important thing, which will give us the heads up and say, okay, yes, we're driving towards what it should look like right now.
All right. I think this would be a follow-up to the question he just asked. Our attention is in Nigeria. Even though this Japa syndrome, everyone will go study abroad, but our attention is on the Nigerian educational system right now. There is this perception that our education in Nigeria is in a deteriorating state. Are you of the same school of thought?
No, I'm not. And why I would say that is because we tend, as humans, we tend to criticize based on what we know.
Okay.
And I always would say, if Nigeria is not worth being a country, it won't be a country. So what that means for me in the sector of the education is, if we don't have what it takes, that will not be existing at all. Yes, of course, there might be some things that needs to be worked on, but I would say that we still have people, we still have products of the system that are doing well. It's just based on the fact that the percentage is still small. But like I said earlier, realization is key. So once the realization is there, then we can say, okay, what is the problem? Let's tackle it. So I wouldn't say that at the deteriorating stage. I wouldn't say that. I feel there is still hope. There is a place where result is. We still have our products that we can be proud of. While I will not also deny the fact that there is work to be done. Yeah. So
can we now say, let's get to the authorities, now the government. Is the government doing enough, or there is more to be done as it has to do with our educational system in Nigeria? Because I'll hear things like, oh, education in Nigeria, attention is on governance and all of that. I want to jack out of the country to go and study abroad and all of that. Or, oh, I wish my parents have money to take me to a private school and all of that. So what's your assessment of government's input in our educational system?
Okay, so Nigeria as a whole, every sector definitely needs more work. We are at that point where we understand that every sector, you know, which education is part of it, needs more work. And since that is established, obviously it answers the fact that yes, there is more that can be done, and the more that can be done lies in the hands of not just the policy makers or decision makers. The coming down to how it is delivered is like let me divert a bit to economics, and you say from wholesaler to retailer, you know. So when we realize that the policy makers, those in the authority, they can do the job, and then what they put out is quite good, but how much attention are we paying to the retailers, to those who are delivering it to the future leaders, right? So because when it comes down to that place, I think that is where the gap is. You know, when you look at it, it's presentable. Whatever we have, the curriculum, the policies, they're presentable. They are a posture test. Yes, but then what happens in between them and then those who are receiving it? In between that, I think that is where attention should be, more attention should be paid to, and that is where I would say we need more work. But like generally in all sectors, Nigeria needs more work, definitely in education system.
You talked about method, which I think is very important, because for me one of the disconnects is the method through which you pass the information to students, because it seems like there is a reason why the students are not getting it up to par. So what's the disconnect in that method, and how can we have a better transmission method for our students, teachers and students at the same time?
So as an educational consultant, one of our major curses is method of delivery, and that is one thing that I put out to schools to teach first, because like I said earlier, no curriculum is bad. We see how often, you know, it's attractive to say my child is in a school called British, this, that, but that is not the problem. The problem is how do we deliver it? So method of delivery, yes, is key. If you have to reflect and see days when we're in primary, secondary school, there are some lessons that you can still remember. Why? Because of the way that lesson was delivered to you, the way the message was passed to you. So the method of delivery is key, and our method of delivery is on rote learning majorly. Copying from here to here. We still have teachers who have the same note from decades back, and then they repeat the same thing.
Lecturers that don't even come.
Of course, they come and you know, and they just jokingly pass it, but it's so strong. It's not something that should be taken lightly. Once the delivery method is not passing the message, it's going to be copy, paste, and that will be the end of it. But the lessons we can retain from, I have some examples like Mr. Najadi. Mr. Najadi, as a science student, you talk about respiration and all of that. Yes. There was song, there were things that reminds you. So from decades after, you can still sing those songs. So the method of delivery is one key thing. I don't even joke with that. It's one of the major things that I address in my scope. You know, the way the teaching, the way the lesson is delivered. So if you pick a Nigerian curriculum, put it by the side of any other curriculum, it's good. But how do you now take it on? How do you pass the message? It is not necessary, all shouldn't be done in the classroom, just in the classroom. And then what is done in the classroom, how do you ensure that the lesson is well passed? How do you ensure that after now, this can be applied? So it's very key, method of delivery.
All right. This is very important.
Yeah.
Have you thought about the digital literacy space in our educational system? How important is digital literacy?
Before you answer that question, I was going to even do it as a follow-up, because you talked about the curriculum, because people have said our curriculum as it's structured might not capture some of those things that we have, emerging technologies like the AI, digital literacy and all of those. So how do you merge that particular reality we're facing
So
now?
digital literacy is, because we are in the world is evolving, digital age.
So what if I tell you that is currently is part of the curriculum in Nigeria?
Oh, that's beautiful.
So it's still about the delivery. Now it's on the paper that we are doing digital literacy, ICT, schools should have a setup of a particular number of system and all of that. Where is the teacher? How vast is the teacher? So that is, when I was talking about the gap, right? So we expect that as the curriculum is being adjusted and trainings are being done for those who are to deliver the lesson, there is a follow-up. Naturally, humans we're naturally, maybe let me say, we easily get relaxed, right? And so for me, I visit schools, I work with schools, including government and private schools, and I see that there are things in place. But then you see that the impact on the learners is not measurable. So where the gap is still that. So if we would, to answer your question, I would say that we sound ready theoretically.
And it's a problem.
And it is. So now it takes parents to now say, let me outsource this to be able to allow my children cope. Meanwhile, it's something that it should be part of learning. I will cite an example. For instance, some kids in my learning center and around me, we advance from revision. When this exam is coming, there's pressure. Let's revise. I am of the opinion that you don't need to revise with any child to write an exam. Any exam.
If that child is well equipped from the beginning.
Every lesson retained does not need to be, there is not much pressure. If a child writes an exam and there is no good grade, that means that lesson has not been retained, that lesson has not been well passed. So even for my kids, we don't do that. What we do is normal study, we have a routine. So where I'm heading to as regards digital literacy is revision now. If you have to now revise, it has advanced beyond picking a note and reading it. It is about using AI to generate questions, study them, watch videos, and then go write the exams. That is the level. And for children, especially children between the ages of, those we call the Gen Alpha now, the younger ones,
Gen Z,
those that don't have any memory of no screen and all that, they think about that. Their thinking is so wide. Like, they bring it up to you, and if you don't get it, that is the way they are tilting to. So digital literacy, theoretically, in the system of Nigerian education is there, but right now I see that a lot of children or a lot of learners who are coping with that, parents have to outsource because it is not well grounded yet.
So I see this outsourcing thing. This is, I don't want to use the word double tragedy for parents in this kind of economy. You still need to outsource. My question now is, how do we bridge this gap?
Okay, so it is still, that's bridging that gap now will have to do with the readiness of those in governance and the ability to ensure that gap of when you release yours as the policy or this, and then you're able to follow up. But the reality also will be in the fact that knowing that you as a parent have a replacement for your child, and the school, the system, the government can always still advance. It is better that you pay that price so that your child will be relevant, so that your child will get what they need to get. And I understand the impact financially, economically, and all of that. But for now, we cannot rely totally on what we get because there is a gap, and we have to intentionally, as parents, cover it. So the outsourcing thing, if you have to do it, it comes from the place of knowing first, identifying where the gap is, which I have stated clearly. That is where the gap is. Those who are the policy makers and those who are delivering to the learners. That place is like you giving an instruction and you close the door, and then after you close the door, you don't know what's going on next. So that gap, the only way to bridge it for now is to outsource. And while we're outsourcing, we keep talking about it. We keep looking for opportunities. For me, I look for opportunities to sit with those people and say, this is what we have noticed. When I visit schools, I don't visit as a policy maker. I visit because I want to figure out what the problem is in the school and how can we help. So we get feedbacks that the people who sit at the level of authority need to be able to bridge it. So, yeah.
I'd like for us to bring to a bigger perspective.
All right.
Education, of course, we know cannot be separated from national development, and our learning outcome plays an integral role in that particular regard. I would like for you to speak to education and national development nexus, basically the connection, and how we can use education for our own national development, whether in politics or whatever field in Nigeria.
All right. So, like you rightly said, that connection cannot be taken out, and it's, of course, it can be a huge advantage. One of the things that I feel we should consider is to be able to listen more.
Okay.
Listening more. You know, there's an assumption that experience is more important. Experience in terms of I've been here. This is how it's been done. And then you feel okay, it is right, but not at all times, because of the advancement, because of what is happening. The younger generations tends to explore more, and those, you know, right now in the system that we have, those in that seat, they advance. You know, you can speak to people in that sector, in that authority, that they don't even know much about the phone. The phone, and then there is a 15-year-old somewhere that will tell you the details about that. So there should be a place of survey, a place of listening more, so that we gather that information and ensure that we apply it for national development. We cannot even take it out. And as a matter of fact, if we're going to advance fast, there must be a connection. That bridge, we must definitely fix it, because we cannot dwell on what we already know and leave those who are experiencing what the next 10, 50, 20, 50 years will look like. We cannot leave them out of our outcome. So listening more, carrying out survey, not looking at the age and considering the experience, but looking at those who are able to naturally, you know, relate to these things and advance in it. I believe that will help. But definitely I confirm with what you've said, that it is important for advancement, and there must be a very good connection between.
True. Now again, the theme of this conversation, we've titled it "Taking Young People Beyond the Classroom." What would that mean in practical terms, not just theoretically now?
So the truth is one of my favorite part. I run a learning center, and one of our theme is learning beyond the classroom. And what we do is, we know that children sit in the classroom for some number of hours, and then we have other activities that brings them into our space, and we get to now teach in a different way, a way that the lessons are well passed, the knowledge is well communicated, and it is retained. So definitely learning is beyond the classroom, and there are methods. Going back to method again, there are methods to do that. One of the major things that we can't take out is, you can talk to a child and a child will forget. You can make a child speak, and the child will say, oh, I can't remember the words or the lines of my words. But when you involve the child is not likely going to forget that thing. So for every subject, every learning area, there must be a practical thing that drives the lesson home. So yes, learning definitely is beyond the classroom. It's outdoor. It's on the experience of what we call excursion. It's on daily activities, home and school. It's not just in the classroom, which is school. It can't just be in school. Learning is home. So I can cite an example. For instance, if you're teaching a child, let's say fraction, and in the classroom you've talked about fraction, breaking these, some schools who are, or let me say learning areas who are very vast in practical lessons, will bring objects and say, let's share it, let's do this. There should also be a reinforcement at home where a child takes a portion of food, and then you say, okay, this portion, if you share this portion into this, what is the fraction of this? That's way.
It's more relatable.
Exactly.
Because they're the ones doing it themselves.
I studied mathematics in my first degree, and until I graduated, I was wondering, how do we apply mathematics? How do we apply mathematics? But I teach mathematics now, and I see the practical part of it. Yeah, and that comes from my advanced learning, to say, okay, how do you bring every topic can be relatable, every topic can be taught in a way that a child will never forget. So learning definitely is beyond the four walls of the classroom, and it should be it should even be mandated. Every lesson should not just stop in the place of writing notes and this. There should be practical side of it. There should be outdoor experience of it. There should be own experience of it. And that is when we can actually say that we're teaching.
All right, this is very important. I think one of the things that I've deduced from everything that I've been saying is the last man standing, who is impacting directly to the learner.
Exactly.
So now, what do we do to upgrade these people, to overhaul that part of the system? That takes me to recruitment process. All right.
Yeah.
So where is the problem coming from? Is it that the people are not qualified? Is it that they are not trained? Is it that they are poorly employed? I don't know where the problem is. So as a consultant, because you said you walk into a school and you see what the problem is, probably we interacted with the teachers and say, oh, but this or that don't do. So how do we get this problem solved? Because it's a major challenge. Because if you don't get it right from that down as you are going up, it will be difficult. So how do we solve that problem? Parents are listening.
I'm glad that you asked this question because it's not one that I would jump to, but I'm glad you asked. So let me start from the quality of life. Why do we work? So we can make a living.
Of course.
And when you look at the system of education, I remember while I was choosing my path as an educator, everyone around me kicked against it. Why? Because they feel teachers they have no lives. They have no lives. Like, you will struggle with life. Right? How much are you going to earn? But over the years, things have changed. But before I get there, first, the attention must be paid to the quality of life of teachers. Many times, we for a very long time, the educational setting and the teachers have been based on passion. You see people, it's my passion. That's the only thing that retains a teacher. But when responsibility is bigger than passion, you will divert. So first, we need to pay attention to the quality of life, find a way to ensure that teachers have a balanced life. They are not treated, they don't have to struggle through life because they chose teaching. As a career, because at the end of the day, when responsibility is calling and your family and everything, you will have to look beyond that. That's one. In the place of recruitment, I already said that we can't ever bank on certificates at all. So what do we look into when it comes to recruiting? If we're also looking at that, you also need to consider the fact that to even get the teachers to recruit has become a challenge. Unlike, you will see the number, but you know that, of course. So you have like 100 people apply for a particular position or a particular classroom teacher or whatever, and then by the time you sit with them, you realize that from 100, maybe you have like 5. Others, you now say, okay, let me bring them in and then train. And so when you now train, you need to now say, okay, after training, let's monitor delivery. And once it is not coming from within, you can't force it.
Another thing that bothers me is, I think it's part of the recruitment process from school. From what I've seen, people that are in the education faculty, most of them are either people who apply for other courses and they couldn't get in. And then you see even the requirements to get in NCEs, as the teaching certificate, all of that. You see people that have the lowest scores are the people who go into that particular academic pursuits. Why is it that we don't place that premium? We don't consider education to be top-notch, that we have to give our best in education, the best people to go there?
Okay, so that's very correct, and I think it's also from the fact that you have people who are passionate, who knows that I'm an impact person. I love to teach, I love to give it, but then when you consider the lifestyle, if I choose this path, how do I do it? And that is what will drive me to the fact that, like you said, I believe parents are listening, school owners are listening, teachers are listening. One thing is that I have practiced and I see it works is that your success is from your mind. is from your mind. There are so many opportunities that can be explored. No school can give you all, maybe pay you to say, okay, this is all that you need in life. But then you have within you what you can explore to give you more. And that is why I would encourage that if you as a teacher or someone who is in line of education feels you're passionate about this and you want to be there, the only thing drawing you back is because, oh, they don't pay well. I need you to look at all the things that you can explore to earn more. And that will come from the place of your ability to advance in skill. And also talking about your point, sir, that there's no priority on the quality that we get. I would say that not totally true, but maybe out of no options. So it shouldn't be considered as out of no option. There should be more demand, so that people who are going in that direction will put in more effort, so they get the needed criteria to be able to qualify for that position.
Now we're approaching the end.
Okay.
Before we go, I'd like for you to, based on your research and all of your experience, profile a way forward for us in basically wrapping up.
All right, thank you so much. So first of all, we must understand and believe in the fact that what we can do or what we can achieve in the educational system of Nigeria is more, and whatever we believe in, we will not find it difficult to put in our quota in it, to support it, to make sure that it is achievable. So I would encourage that everyone in this sector, I'm talking to parents, I'm talking to school owners, I'm talking to people in the governance, in the authority, the educational authority, that we should not only do what we see, but we try and put in more effort to be able to reach out and ensure that what we decide at the top is able to reach the learners. Feedback should also be taken from parents. And also, to wrap up, I would say that as educators and as impact people on the impact journey, know that you are more. You can achieve whatever you put your mind to achieve, and don't reduce yourself to the confine of the classroom. The more valuable you are, the more you become.
Thank you very much.
But I'm thinking, I wish we could have more time, but I can't turn back the hands of time. I would have said, okay, let's just go a little more like 1 hour, because this is more, this is detailed enough and informative. So we will have you again on any of our programs subsequently. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much
today.
for having me.
Thank you very much. Now that conversation has been with Mary OKUNLOYE. She is an education psychologist and a consultant, and we've been having a conversation that borders on Nigeria's education. And one thing you should know is that as the world continues to evolve, many believe education must evolve, not only to help young people earn qualifications, but to help build skills, solve problems, adapt to change, and contribute meaningful to society. And that's the side of the conversation. We'll go on a break. When we come back, the conversation continues.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends